Part 1, Chapter 2, The Origin of Fear. The origin of fear. The psychological condition of fear is divorced from any concrete and true immediate danger. It comes in many forms: unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, dread, phobia, and so on. This kind of psychological fear is always of something that might happen, nor of something that is happening now. You are in here and now, while your mind is in the future. This creates an anxiety gap. And if you are identified with your mind and have lost touch with the power and simplicity of the now, that anxiety gap will be your constant companion. You can always cope with the present moment, but you cannot cope with something that is only a mind projection. You cannot cope with the future. Moreover, as soon as you are identified with your mind, the ego runs your life because of its phantom nature, and despite elaborate defense mechanism, the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it sees itself as constantly under threat. This, by the way, this is the case even if the ego is outwardly very confident. Now remember that an emotion is the body's reactions to your mind. What message is the body receiving consciously, continuously? What message is the body receiving continuously from the ego, the false, mind made self? Danger, I am under threat. And what is the emotion generated by this continuous message? Fear, of course. Fear seems to have many causes: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. To the ego, death is always just around the corner. In ju- in this mind identified state, fear of death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal thing as the compulsive need to be right in an argument and make the other people wrong. Defending the mental position with which you have identified is due to the fear of death. If you identify with a mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind based sense of self is seriously threatened with annihilation. So, as the ego cannot afford to be wrong, to be wrong is to die. Wars have been fought over this, and countless relationships have broken down. Once you have disidentified from your mind, whether you are right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So, the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, will no longer to be there. You can state clear and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness and defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place, within yourself, not from the mind. Watch out for any kind of defensiveness within yourself. What are you defending? An illusionary identity, an image in your mind, a fictitious entity. By making this pattern conscious, by witnessing it, you disidentify from it. In the light of your consciousness, the unconscious pattern will then quickly dissolve. This is the end of all arguments and power games, which are so corrosive and relations, which are so corrosive to relationships. Power over other is weakness disguised as strength. True power is within, and it is available to you now. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free of the egoistic mind. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you no longer want to add to the residue residue of past pain that still lives on in you, then don't create any more time, or at least no more than is necessary to deal with the practical aspect of your life. How to stop creating time? Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Whereas before you dwelt in time and paid brief visits to the now, have you dwelling place in the now and pay brief visits to past and future when required to deal with the practical aspects of your life situation. Always say yes to the present moment and the delusion of time. Here is the key. And the delusion of time. Time and mind are inseparable. Remove time from the mind and it stop unless you choose to use it. To be disidentified with your mind is to be trapped in time. The compulsion to live almost exclusively through memory and anticipation. This create an endless preoccupation with past and future and an unwillingness to honor and acknowledge the present moment and allow it to be. The compulsion arises because the past gives you an identity and the future holds the promise of salvation, of fulfillment in whatever form. Both are illusions. The more you are focused on time, past, and future, the more you miss the now. And the most precious thing there is. Why is it the most precious things? Firstly, because it is the only things. It's all there is. The internal present is the space within which your whole life unfolds. The one factor that remains constant: life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. Secondly, the now is the only point that can think you beyond the limited confines of the mind. It is your only it is your only point of access into the timeless and formless realm of being. Have you ever experienced, done, thought, or felt anything outside that now? Do you think you ever will? Is it possible for anything to happen or be outside the now? The answer is obvious, is it not? Nothing ever happened in the past, it happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in the now. The essence of what I am saying here cannot be understood by the mind. The moment you grasp it, there is a shift in consciousness from mind to being, from time to presence. Suddenly, everything feels alive, radiates energy, emanates being. Chapter 2 complete.